The US is great at pretending everything's fine, until you take a closer look. Beneath the shiny image of freedom and fast food are 49 weird problems that somehow became normal. From confusing coins to outlawed rainbow chickens, this isn't your typical doom-scrolling list. It's the stuff Americans deal with daily and barely question. So let's dive into the strange, subtle, and sometimes hilarious mess hiding in plain sight. 1. Small talk in the US isn't just a polite habit. It's practically a national sport. How's the weather? Isn't really a question. It's a code for, I'm being friendly, not weird. Americans use chit-chat to smooth over awkward silences, avoid real emotion, and pretend we're all doing just fine, even if our coffee's cold and our life's a mess. Whether it's in line at the store or with someone fixing your sink, you're expected to talk about basically nothing. Mastering this skill isn't optional. It's your ticket to being normal in public. 2. Yes, the American coin shortage. Because of course, in the middle of a global crisis, pennies became a national issue. When the pandemic hit, people stopped using cash, and coins vanished like toilet paper in 2020. Businesses put up signs begging customers for exact change. Some even started offering free snacks or discounts in exchange for quarters. The irony? The US Mint kept producing coins, but with fewer in circulation, they just sat around. So yeah, in a country that can build billion-dollar tech empires, we somehow ran out of dimes. 3. Here's a classic linguistic trap. In the US, football is the game where players mostly don't use their feet. Meanwhile, what the rest of the world calls football, Americans renamed it soccer and collectively ignored it until recently. Ask someone about football in Texas and they'll tell you about touchdowns, tailgating, and quarterbacks, not Ronaldo. This isn't just a translation issue. It's a cultural shift that's been confusing newcomers and Europeans for decades. Honestly, the only thing more American than renaming a global sport is insisting it's the correct version. 4. 2 weeks of vacation per year. That's what the average American worker gets. And that's if they're lucky enough to even get paid time off. Compare that to countries like France, where 6 weeks is the norm. And suddenly, the phrase American dream starts to sound like corporate sleep deprivation. Most workers are too burnt out to enjoy their time off anyway, and many don't even take the full 2 weeks out of fear of falling behind. Rest is optional. Hustling is mandatory. Welcome to work-life imbalance. 5. The US credit score system is a numbers game, one that nobody really explains until it's too late. It decides whether you can get an apartment, a car, or even a job. But the rules, murky at best. You need credit to build credit, but you can't get credit unless you already have credit. Confused yet? You're not alone. Miss one payment in 2017 and your score still limps into 2024 like it's holding a grudge. It's less of a financial tool and more of a shadowy boss you didn't know you had. 6. American appliances aren't just big. They're comically oversized. The refrigerators are built like wardrobes. Ovens look like they could roast a Thanksgiving turkey and your self-esteem. In some households, microwaves could double as studio apartments. Why? Partly because of space. Many American homes are bigger than in other countries. But also because, well, excess is kind of the national aesthetic. Is it practical? Sometimes. Is it overkill? Absolutely. But hey, where else can you store 12 frozen pizzas and a gallon of ranch in the same drawer? 7. In the US, student loans don't just haunt your 20s, they follow you like a bad tattoo into your 40s and 50s. Higher education, once a gateway to opportunity, has become a lifelong financial sentence. Some people joke their student loans will outlive them. Others aren't joking. With interest piling up like it's on steroids, many Americans spend decades trying to pay off degrees they might not even use. It's not education. It's debt disguised as ambition. 49. Inches, feet, yards, miles, pounds, ounces, gallons. Welcome to imperial madness, tenium. The US still clings to a measurement system that most of the world ditched decades ago. Why? Because tradition, apparently. While the rest of the planet uses metric and calls it a day, Americans measure things like they're prepping for a 19th century bake sale, It's quirky, yes, but also the reason international engineers break into a sweat when working on US projects. 9. In some US states, crossing the street outside the lines isn't just unsafe, it's illegal. Welcome to jaywalking, the crime of walking like a normal person. Forget dodging traffic. You might have to dodge a fine. This law confuses tourists, annoys locals, and makes crossing empty roads feel like covert missions. The irony? The US isn't exactly known for walkable cities, so yes, in many places it's illegal to walk where there are barely any sidewalks. Logic? Optional. 10. Think you're ready to party in America? Not so fast. Some counties are still dry. That means no buying alcohol, even if you're 21 and ready to toast the weekend. These laws date back to Prohibition-era holdouts and are still alive in places where time apparently froze in 1933. Planning a celebration in one of these areas? You better bring your own bottle, or just celebrate with sparkling water and regret. 11. Ever tried to make sense of the US tax system? It's like assembling IKEA furniture with no instructions, and the screws are on fire. Between W-2s, 1099s, deductions, credits, and state versus federal rules, even seasoned adults approach tax season with a mix of confusion and existential dread. Millions pay someone else just to file their taxes. Meanwhile, in other countries, the government just tells you what you owe. In the US, it's a riddle wrapped in paperwork, garnished with a deadline. 12. The land of democracy, where a chunk of the population doesn't even show up to vote. Voter turnout in the US often lags behind other developed nations, with just over half of eligible citizens voting in presidential elections and way fewer in local ones. Why? Long lines, confusing ballots, registration hurdles, and apathy. Some blame the system, some blame the people. But either way, for a country that loves freedom, a surprising number of folks skip their most basic civic duty. 13. Think college tuition is brutal? Try childcare. In the US, parents can expect to pay anywhere from $10,000 to $20,000 per child, per year. That's not elite prep school. We're talking daycare and preschool. It's enough to make people question whether they can afford to have kids at all. For many, the cost of childcare equals or exceeds their rent or mortgage. Having a baby shouldn't require a second job. But here, it often does. 14. Americans may stress about money, but they're still swiping that card for brunch, Netflix, and Taylor Swift tickets. On average, US households spend nearly $2,500 a year on entertainment. Movies, concerts, dining out, subscriptions, while 40% say they're living paycheck to paycheck. It's a strange balancing act, trying to live your best life while also dodging overdraft fees. In America, financial anxiety and FOMO go hand in hand. 15. One of the weirdest things about American currency? All the bills are the same size and the same shade of green. No bold colors, no size differences, just vibes. That might seem normal if you grew up with it, but travelers from abroad are often baffled. Other countries make it easy. Different colors, sizes, even textures. In the US, you've got to squint, flip, and double-check just to tell a $1 bill from $100, which feels unnecessarily risky. 16. Here's a stat that'll make you rethink your fridge. The US wastes up to 40% of its food every year. That's roughly 130 billion meals, or enough to feed 150 million people. Meanwhile, food insecurity remains a major issue. The culprits? Overbuying oversized portions and confusion over Best Buy labels. The irony? The same country throwing away entire meals also leads the world in diet culture. A paradox served cold, then tossed out. 17. Black Friday in the US is less shopping spree, more gladiator battle. Every year, footage rolls in of people tackling each other over TVs, elbowing for discounted toasters, or getting into full-on brawls in the toy aisle. What started as a day of post-Thanksgiving deals has turned into a national blood sport. Nothing says holiday spirit like screaming at a stranger over a $20 waffle maker. Ah yes, capitalism, but make it combat. 18. With nearly 48 million Americans uninsured, healthcare in the US isn't just expensive, it's terrifying. Many skip basic checkups, live with chronic pain, or delay treatment because they simply can't afford it. A broken arm? That'll be thousands. An ambulance ride? Hundreds, just for the ride. For many, health coverage is tied to their job, so losing employment can also mean losing access to doctors. In the richest country on earth, getting sick can cost everything. 19. If you think one set of laws is enough, the US says, hold my gavel. You've got federal laws, state laws, and local ordinances, all overlapping, sometimes contradicting, and constantly changing. Something legal in one state might be a felony in another. Even things like cannabis, fireworks, or collecting rainwater can swing wildly depending on where you live. It's less a unified system and more of a legal buffet. Just hope you don't pick the wrong dish. 20. American homes may look cozy, but many are built like glorified cabins. Lots of wood, not a lot of durability. Unlike brick or stone structures common in other parts of the world, many US houses are highly flammable and vulnerable to storms. It's faster and cheaper to build that way, sure, but also riskier. Hurricanes, wildfires, and even termites have a field day. It's the architectural version of live fast, rebuild often. 21. American school days start early, painfully early. Some kids are catching the bus at 6:45 a.m., as if they've got a meeting with Wall Street. Despite loads of research showing later start times improve focus, mental health, and grades, the system moves slower than a teen waking up without coffee. So kids keep nodding off in algebra while the grown-ups debate logistics. Meanwhile, the only thing learning at 7:30 a.m. is the vending machine. 22. America's obesity problem doesn't stop at humans. It extends to pets. Nearly 60% of cats and dogs in the US are overweight. Why? Table scraps, overfeeding, and enough treats to stock a candy aisle. Some dogs get more calories in a day than a gym rat's protein shake. And don't even mention cat snacks. Those tuna-flavored guilt pellets add up. Pet health is serious, but the real question is, how do you put a golden doodle on a diet without breaking its heart? 23. The US is the only place where life-saving insulin costs more than a car payment. While other wealthy nations offer insulin for a few bucks, Americans can pay hundreds per vial. That's not a typo. Some diabetics ration doses or skip them entirely because they just can't afford to live. Pharmaceutical companies call it pricing strategy. The rest of us call it cruelty in a bottle. If this isn't a national scandal, what is? 24. Collecting rainwater illegal? Oh yeah, in some US states, it's a crime to harvest the sky. Why? Because it's technically considered owned by the state for environmental use. So filling a barrel with rain off your roof could land you a fine. Mother Nature, meet legal loopholes. Want to be eco-friendly and self-sufficient? Great. Just make sure the water falling from the clouds has government approval. 25. Tipping in the US is no longer a gesture. It's an economic survival system. It doesn't stop at restaurants. Baristas, tip. Hairdresser, tip. Taxi driver, tip. The person who just handed you a coffee you made yourself at a self-serve kiosk? Honestly, probably still tip. And don't even think about not doing it. Servers rely on those tips to make up for wages that wouldn't even buy a sandwich. Budgeting in America now means leaving room for 20% guilt. 26. Stand your ground laws exist in many states, and they're exactly what they sound like. You don't have to retreat before using deadly force if you feel threatened. It's legal self-defense with a Wild West twist. Supporters say it protects the innocent. Critics say it escalates conflict. Either way, it turns everyday confrontations, road rage, neighbor disputes, even arguments at bars, into potentially deadly situations. In some places, it's less de-escalation and more draw first, ask questions later. 27. In most of the US, you pump your own gas like a grown adult. But not in Oregon and New Jersey. Nope. There, it's illegal to pump your own. Instead, attendants do it for you, whether you like it or not. It's a throwback to a bygone era, and for some, a welcome break in the rain. But for out-of-staters, it's often an awkward interaction filled with confusion, window fumbling, and the eternal question, do I tip for gas? 28. Car culture in the US isn't just a lifestyle, it's a survival mechanism. In many cities, if you don't have a car, you don't have a life. Public transportation? Sparse, unreliable, or non-existent. Sidewalks? Optional. It's a nation where drive-thrus outnumber bus routes, and even the gym has valet parking. Want to go 3 blocks? Better drive. Want to get groceries? Hope you've got a trunk. Owning a car isn't convenience, it's infrastructure. 29. Ever wonder why American kids get 3 months off every summer? It's not because of vacation envy, it's from old farming calendars. Back when kids were needed to work the fields, school let out for summer. Fast forward a century, and now kids get a massive break to do absolutely nothing agricultural. Meanwhile, parents scramble for childcare and students forget everything they just learned. It's nostalgia, baked into the calendar, served with a side of academic slide. 30. U.S. airports are the final boss of domestic chaos. TSA lines that stretch into eternity. Baggage fees that make you question your suitcase choices. Gate changes announced in whispers and delays that defy logic. It's stress in high definition. Want a smooth trip? Pack snacks, wear slip-off shoes, and prepare your soul for disappointment. Or better yet, subscribe for more videos, because laughing at airport pain is way more fun than living it. 31. In the US, dialing 911 doesn't always mean the right help shows up. Whether it's a car crash, a robbery, or a mental health emergency, it's usually the police who respond first. That might make sense for crime, but for someone in crisis, it can escalate the situation fast. Many cities lack specialized crisis teams, so officers are left handling situations they were never properly trained for. It's like calling a plumber to do brain surgery, well-intentioned, but risky for everyone involved. 32. Sick in the US? Better suck it up. About 1 in 4 workers don't have access to paid sick leave. That means millions of people are forced to choose between their health and their paycheck. Spoiler, the paycheck usually wins. The result? Offices full of coughing coworkers and contagious customer service. In America, calling in sick is often seen as a luxury, not a basic right. Nothing like spreading germs to prove your work ethic. 33. Clean drinking water isn't guaranteed in every U.S. town. Some communities deal with unsafe levels of lead, bacteria, or industrial chemicals, and that's on a good day. Boil water advisories have become a recurring headline, not a rare event. While some cities enjoy pristine tap water, others face pipes older than Elvis and government inaction. For a country that sends rovers to Mars, you'd think consistent clean water wouldn't be such a stretch. 34. Halloween in the US is big business, like billions big. Costumes, props, decorations, animatronic zombies, it's a full-blown spooky economy. But here's the scary part. Most of that stuff ends up in landfills within weeks. Cheap polyester capes, plastic pumpkins, broken skeletons, gone by November. It's fun, sure, but it's also a waste party dressed up as a holiday. The real horror? The environmental hangover that follows. 35. The US loves to talk about family values, yet it's one of the only developed nations without federally mandated paid parental leave. New parents often return to work just weeks after childbirth, sleep-deprived, recovering, and expected to function like nothing happened. Some get a few weeks off if they're lucky, but many get nothing. So while other countries give parents time to bond, America hands them a bill and a clock. 36. Want to vote? In some U.S. states, a felony conviction means you lose that right, sometimes permanently. Even after serving time and rejoining society, people can be denied the ability to cast a ballot. It's a hot political debate that touches on race, rehabilitation, and democracy itself. Supporters call it justice. Critics call it voter suppression in a nice suit. Either way, the message is clear. In some places, your past follows you to the ballot box. 37. In the U.S., the quality of your education often depends on your zip code. Why? Because public schools are funded by property taxes, which means wealthy areas have nicer schools, better resources, and shinier facilities, while poorer districts scramble for basics. It's education by real estate value. Same country, same curriculum, radically different outcomes. So yes, where you live can literally decide your future. And that's a lesson no kid should have to learn. 38. Watching TV in the US? Keep the remote nearby, because commercials will blast your eardrums off. You'll be peacefully watching a drama, and bam, some car ad yells at you like it's trying to win an argument. It's no accident either. Advertisers know loudness grabs attention, even if it ruptures your peace. The volume spike is so obnoxious there's legislation about it that no one really enforces. So enjoy the show, and brace for impact. 39. Getting into college in the US feels more like auditioning for a reality competition than applying to study. High grades and test scores? Not enough. You'll need sports, volunteering, 5 clubs, and maybe a violin recital or 2. Oh, and if your parents are alumni or donors, congrats, your chances just doubled. The system's competitive, stressful, and often favors those with resources. It's less about who's smart and more about who figured out how to play the game early. 40. Believe it or not, millions of Americans still lack access to high-speed internet. That's a massive problem in a world where work, education, healthcare, even social interaction rely on being online. Rural areas are hit hardest, where options range from dial-up, yes still, to nothing at all. While some stream 4K movies from their phones, others can't even join a Zoom call. Welcome to the digital divide, where your internet speed depends on your geography, not your need. 41. In the US, guns don't just outnumber people, they outnumber them by 20%. With around 120 firearms for every 100 residents, it's the only country where guns have statistically gone into multiplayer mode. While gun ownership is often tied to freedom and personal safety, it also fuels a staggering level of gun violence. Mass shootings, accidents, and heated debates have become regular features of American life. For outsiders, it's baffling. For many Americans, it's Tuesday. 42. Stuck in traffic? So is everyone else. The average US driver spends 54 hours a year just sitting in traffic, and in cities like LA, it can hit 119 hours. That's 5 days of your life spent staring at brake lights, inching forward like you're part of some slow-moving asphalt parade. Commuting in the US isn't about getting from point A to point B. It's a test of patience, bladder strength, and your playlist rotation. 43. Income inequality in the US has gone from concerning to cartoon villain levels. The top 1% owns more wealth than most Americans combined, while wages for average workers have barely moved in decades. So while billionaires launch themselves into space, millions of people can't afford rent. The land of opportunity increasingly feels like a place where the elevator only goes up if you're already on the top floor. 44. Need to find a public restroom in an American city? Good luck. They're either non-existent, locked, or reserved for customers only. It's a problem for tourists, delivery drivers, parents, and anyone with a bladder on a schedule. In some places, relieving yourself legally has become a scavenger hunt. And don't even think about asking a barista unless you buy a coffee first. Pro tip: always pee before you leave the house. 45. Americans have so much stuff they need to rent separate buildings just to store it. With over 2.3 billion square feet of self-storage space nationwide, it's clear that clutter is big business. Old furniture, childhood trophies, that treadmill no one uses. Into the unit it goes. It's like the national attic, but with monthly rent. The irony? We buy more because we forget what we already have. Buried under 3 Christmas trees in a kayak. 46. Emergency room visit in the US? Bring your insurance card, and maybe a second mortgage. The country is one of the only developed nations without universal health care, and the results are as painful as the injuries. A broken arm? Thousands. An ambulance ride? Hundreds, just for the ride. Many Americans delay care because they can't afford it. It's less about healing and more about haggling. The price of survival shouldn't come with a payment plan. 47. The US is huge, so why can't you take a train anywhere fast? While Europe zips along on high-speed rail, Americans are stuck with aging trains that crawl through the countryside like it's still 1955. The few high-speed projects that exist are limited, expensive, or stuck in bureaucratic limbo. So instead of gliding across states in a sleek bullet train, you're stuck flying, driving, or praying your Amtrak doesn't derail from boredom. 48. Fahrenheit. America's favorite way to make temperatures confusing. While the rest of the world uses Celsius, the US insists on a system where 32 degrees means freezing, 212 means boiling, and everything in between is just vibes. Explaining it to non-Americans is an exercise in chaos. It's like trying to measure logic with a waffle iron. Useful? Occasionally. Universal? Not even close. The ultimate American problem? Trying to understand all the other ones. From confusing laws to baffling traditions, the US is a full-time puzzle. But if you made it this far, congrats! You've officially joined the club of people who ask, wait, why is this normal? Hit that like button, subscribe for more oddities, and drop your favorite American problem in the comments. Or just vent. We support that too.